We have a trader who went from $80k to $2 million. He quickly lost it all and now he's down by $1.3 million. Someone went all in on some options and made $170,000. And this trader turned $12,000 into $200,000 just by trading stocks. And we are starting off with an insane gain by Cleveland 17. You all made fun of me last time I posted. Held strong, and as we can see just today he's up by 25% or $101k, and since open he's up by $170,800. He's up by so much because he bought 400 Apple put options with a striking price at $130 and expiration date on April the 21st of 2023. He bought them at $7.85 and sold them at $12.30, so he should be up by a bit more. And the insane part is that he basically YOLO'd his whole account on these options. He held them for 2 months and had many red days. He even held them through the last CPR report and got wrecked. And obviously he didn't stop here. I thought he was going to lose it all if he continued YOLOing like that. But to my surprise, the next day he was up by 6.5% or around 34k. And his account finally crossed $500,000. He started the day by withdrawing $30,000. Then he decided to once again go all in on the same put options. He bought 475 puts at $9.70 and sold them an hour and a half later at $10.40. Well, I just hope he doesn't lose it all on the next YOLO. Next up we have an insane loss by Kobe2348, who's asking if he's winning. As we can see, he's down by $876,190.02, and his chart is very interesting. It starts off by slowly falling, then it goes almost straight down to negative 400k, but then it quickly skyrockets back up, even getting to $500,000 in profit. And as fast as it went up, it comes crashing back down, then it just slowly bleeds out. I can't even imagine what he must have felt during those huge fluctuations in his account. He started shorting cruise lines in January of 2019 and went from 25k to 100k in a few weeks. He was hooked. Then he went long on PEE and other related stocks for a while and was doing well until January the 28th of 2021. Then he did really good, then really bad after YOLO options stopped working. He started trying to play catch up by even more YOLOs and it didn't work, except for in March when he was up by $2 million across the board. At that point he should have moved to shares, but was dumb and thought buying in the money calls would be safe on a stock that just ran 100%. Now he's short on the likes of Lulu, HD, Marna and long on some meme plays and Tesla. Just on this account in March he went from 80k to $1.3 million in just a few days and then quickly lost it all. And the craziest part is that he did sell at the peak. He literally had it all cash in his account, but looked at his play and was like, that wasn't the number he said he would sell at. Time to get back in. But instead of going to shares, he bought calls. But the stock ran up 100%, so of course it was going to fall hard. So it didn't even matter if it was YOLOs or in the money or whatever. And in his defense, if the stock went up by just 20%, that 1.3 million would have likely been close to $5 million. Sad thing is, he's been on point with most of his thoughts and predictions of the market, but he failed to have proper discipline in a lot of scenarios to execute. And he continuously YOLO'd his money because when he went up by a bunch and went down even more, he just tried to do even more YOLOs to make it back quick. Desperate attempts to solve a problem, really. Now you might ask yourself why he didn't just retire. Well, because in his opinion 880k isn't worth retiring over. His number was $100 million. He and his wife talked about it on the beach the night before he ran up to $2 million across it all. He said, I feel like tomorrow something big could happen. She said, at what point will you sell? He said, when would you? She said, $1 million. He said 100 million, and it looks like she was right. He's definitely hurting now. Although he still has money he's able to use to trade, but he's certainly riding an interesting line of losing everything. He thinks that if he avoids YOLOs, keeps making high income and buys 2-year out calls while the market is at the bottom, as well as short those that aren't like Lulu, he should find his way back to break even. He went from little experience trading to trading hundreds of thousands right away, which was wasn't super smart. So he started with just 25k in 2019, continued trading and deposited more money along the way. At one point he was even up by $2 million, and if we add up his other accounts he's down by $1.3 million. But somehow he still maintains hope of the comeback, feels bad about his losses, and despite his poor decisions I can't help myself from respecting him for not giving up. Anyway, next up we have an insane gain by Dan Suke. He rode the SPX wave today with 0 days till expiry options. As we can see, he's up by $1,105,002, and he's up by so much because he bought SPX puts and calls with a striking price at $3,800, $3,820 and $3,840. The screenshot says he paid almost $5 million for these options, but that's all of the trades combined. In reality he was trading around 500k at a time, which is about 5% of his portfolio, and he never held both calls and puts at the same time. He bought calls and sold them a few minutes later when SPX went up, and then bought puts and rode SPX down and sold them. Rinse and repeat. And he likes SPX more than SPY because he can move more dollar volume with fewer contracts, resulting in fewer commissions. SPX gains also have better tax treatment, and if he's writing SPX options, they can't be early exercised, plus they're cash settled, which can make things easier sometimes. And he trades by just looking at the chart and not holding for too long. Minimal technical analysis. Well, huge respects to him for making huge gains and not losing everything. Anyway, next up we have a huge gain by Middle East PhD, who can't say 2022 was a bad year. As we can see, in the past year he went from around 50k to 200k. And how did he quadruple his account in just a year? Well, he wasn't buying naked calls, no meme stocks, no FANG, and no WallStreetBets front page stocks. His portfolio was always long stocks, from 50% to 133%, from being underinvested to using mild leverage up to 33%, so borrowing up to $33 for every $100 in capital. He also sold covered calls occasionally. He only held up to 3 stocks at a time, most of the time a single stock, and all in the same sector. He wrote his oil stocks that continued to rally since COVID. For context, he started with just 12k in 2020, and at the end of the summer he realized oil was played out, and he gradually liquidated oil stocks and switched to Chinese tech, the most hated sector of the market. He took some pain on Chinese stocks before they started rallying, which gave him the year-end boost. So he's mostly buying stocks in the most hated sector of the market, takes pain for a while until they turn around and stage big rallies. And when he did a full switch from oil stocks to Chinese tech, he did it very gradually over 2 to 3 months, selling oil stocks as it moved up and buying Chinese as they moved down. When he says he realized oil was played out, it doesn't mean he thinks it's the top. It just means that he thinks the vast majority of gains have been made. The time to buy was 2020, and now they may have an additional 20 to 30% upside left over the next 12 months, but he doesn't buy stocks to make 20%. In other words, the upside is not worth the risk, and that's exactly the question he asks himself. Can this stock go up by at least 50% over the next 12 months? What is the downside risk? And that's when valuation comes into play. Always look at valuation and relative valuation, because eventually that's what stocks are all about. So when the upside far outweighs the downside risk, that's usually when he considers a stock a buy. And when he buys, he never expects to catch the very bottom as many people do. He buys gradually. He never has a stop loss or automated exit and entry points. Currently he's 130% in blue chip Chinese tech. There's only a handful of them, so it's fairly easy to guess which 1 to 2 stocks he currently owns. And he added 0 funds since he opened this account with 12k in 2020. Well, huge respects to him for making huge and consistent gains just by trading stocks. And last but not least, we have a huge gain percentage wise by Gypsies232. He bought 5k coin puts and just closed them out the next day at 110% of profit, or around $5,807. He bought 20 Coinbase put options with a striking price at $38 and an expiration date on January the 13th of 2023. He bought them because the stock bounced up too fast by more than 10% on the day he bought them. So his analysis was that it went up and then it went down. So it seems more like luck than actual trading strategy. strategy. And unfortunately, he had bought some Alibaba puts. For context, the stock went up by 16% in the past 5 days. And then he was too obstinate to admit he was losing and kept doubling down on them. And we don't know how much he lost because his post got removed. And if you want to see how this trader turned $450 into $80,000 in just a month, click on the video that just popped up. And if that is not enough, smash that subscribe button as you will help me out a lot in reaching my goal of 500 subscribers. If you have any questions or recommendations, leave them in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.